Yo, Mariners, engineers, welcome back to another edition of Fusion with Mr. Bunk. And in this case, just trust the process, really take your time and listen to me on the controls of this. All I'm making here is sort of a replica of something that looks like the Empire State Building. I like this project because it really forces you to practice and learn some real fundamental controls and make something that's kind of a big icon, especially in this part of the country. So it's just a project that I really enjoy. If you click new design here, it's going to give you a new tab. If you click this button here or new design there, it's going to give you a new tab. That's also where you save and open things for students that are just getting into this program. So that's important to see that tab up in the top left corner there is your file menu for controlling very important things like opening, closing, and saving things, and changing files to 3D printable files up there. So know that. Um, oh, while I'm here, I'm going to tell you what to do right out of the beginning is get in the habit of any program that you ever open. This is a basic life skill. If the program doesn't save things for you automatically, name it as soon as you start. Even if you throw it away and waste your time, it's going to save you potential accidents and you'll thank yourself. And I'm going to call it an add-on to my last name and put whatever period, like if you're in period number 4 or 7, just P4 or P7, so I know if you share something with me, this is just a habit that I want you to form just in case if you ever send me a file through Google Drive somehow and you want me to print it for you, I'm much better off knowing exactly what group of people it's coming from. It's going to help me keep organized. So please just get in that normal habit. The other thing that my students need to do specifically in our district is export files. And sorry, this is modified. When you first do this for the very first times, it's always going to be an Autodesk Fusion archive file or an F3D file. You've got to make sure you navigate this. I'm in my home computer, so I can't even show you this, but you got to make sure you click this and push it into your U drive, export it there. That way it's permanently stored. Sorry about my dog clicking around in the background. You're going to hear her being a dog. All right. But my students specifically, then you want to do this again for permanent storage whenever you're done with a project, but that naming it in case something crashes, it'll have some sort of checkpoint there and it'll open it up for you and saves you headaches later. Anyway, that's a basic. And then when you're getting started, you want to make sure your units are the same as mine. You should be in millimeters to start off with. If you just open this program and started using it, you generally defaults to that. Just in case, you should also know how to change those units. It's in the document setting. It's right here. You just click on this and this little button. I'm going to go let my dog outside so you don't hear her clicking around. Go. I have a puppy named Daisy, and she insists on being in these. So anyway, to get started, you click Create Sketch, and notice here and now that the planes here represent the cube surfaces here to make it easier on people. So you want to click on this case, you want to build this like you're building it on the tabletop. All right, so you click on the top plane, and that makes it a lot easier to figure out where it's at in space. And when it turns around for you, as you build, it's going to make your life easier. Just in case anybody hasn't been around with me before, I wouldn't ever use this program if I didn't have the zoom control figured out. In that little circle where your initials are, you click on preferences and you can scroll down and click this reverse zoom direction thing if it doesn't feel right ever. Most people like it checked, so you know. All right, so I went over that. Also, the basic controls with when I slide things around and zooming in and out, you need to know how to do all that stuff. There are mechanical controls. You can click this and then drag just easily, but if you push the mouse wheel down, that's how you slide things back and forth. It's called pan. If you want to orbit, you can do it down here, but you can also shift and hold the mouse wheel down and orbit. You could actually draw entirely this way. You don't have to be looking at it square like the program. In some cases, I actually prefer doing it this way. But I'm going to keep you with normal habits here. And Actually, I need to flip this so it's starting off the right way for you guys. Now, you're going to draw this with a series of rectangles and stack up blocks, doing it with center symmetry. Click center point or center rectangle. It's not center point rectangle. That's a different program name. And drag this out until it's about 120 by 120, which, depending on if you just did what I did and zoom in and out, here's the good thing to know. If you want to start off the right way with this, the only measurements you really need to start with are 1, 2, 0. It's highlighted in blue. You hit the tab key and it jumps to the other measurement. Type 1, 2, 0, hit enter, and then you can just finish that sketch. Hopefully, see, it doesn't turn for me. In this case, it's not doing it. In some cases, this does this. In some cases, it doesn't. When you hit finish sketch, it should turn automatically and orient itself so you can see this thing on an angle before you hit extrude, so you can see it in 3D. The other weird quirk is that sometimes this menu gets put right exactly where you want to grab this arrow. I'm going to type in a distance right now real quick so this gets out of the way. Oh, I made it 1,000. I'm going to make it 10 because I don't really want to leave it there. It's just going to make it easier for me to grab this and build. All right, so I did 120 by 120 by 100 by 80, 90. Just sculpting. Again, I'm making just a generic design of a building. One other thing that I noticed before is I was changing my visibility controls, visual style to, if you've gone into these controls and maybe changed it and your model starts to look like this and you don't have hard lines, there's a display control where you can change visual, you can change the environment and a bunch of other effects. I don't suggest really going too crazy with all that, but shaded with visible edges only is something that you really need when you're working on something in 3D like this. Sorry, just made sure everybody's on that same page. If it doesn't look this way with those lines, change that. Then you're just hitting create sketch again, clicking on the top of this thing and doing this over and over again. Rectangle, center point. Click the center point, pull this thing out till it's pretty far close next to the outside edge. Don't need to have an exact measurement. What you can know is if you hit escape and you're not using any tools, you can always go back in here and modify it before you go on to the next step. Finish sketch. Again, it's not doing it. It should spin it. This happens hit or miss. I can't explain why. I haven't figured it out yet, but sometimes it does it for you and sometimes it does not. So just assume that it won't. Tumble this thing around. Okay, something that you need to really understand is moving things around and everything. If you're ever dealing with putting measurements in or in a situation like this, whatever you do is not going to affect that step. So I'm in an extrude right now, but I need to see things differently. So I can move this thing around. I can grab it and pan around if I'm in the middle of that step. So I can, go like down here or zoom out, look at it. Does it look right? I can pull it up. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. That's what you need to do to have control over the program. So take your time. All right. Then as we go, you're just creating a sketch and then turning it into an object. All right. That's all in these. I have one body. I have two sketches that turned into these two stacks. The one body, it's because it's adding or joining all of this material together. It's not seeing it as separate. It's joined. If I want to go back in here and modify that height of that block, that feature it's called, you right click on it down here in the bottom left corner. Then you go to edit feature, and that's how you can modify that height if you want to go back in and change it because you're not happy about it. I like the way that looks. You can see join. If I hit new body, I would end up with a new body over here because it would consider those things separate pieces. Leave it as join. Click up here, click on top. Great. Rectangle, center point rectangle. Now, there's a big advantage of the center point symmetry whenever you're working in programs, which is a part of the lesson here. And another thing you're going to see is taking two rectangles in this case and intersecting them. Start from middle out in one way. Again, you can zoom in, you can slide around, not just when you're doing an extrude, but if you're drawing with a tool and you need to see better, you can let go of the mouse button always. You're not dragging this out. You click, you're pulling, you can just start to see things as you need to. Finish that sketch. Again, it's not auto tilting for me, but it should look something like that. Again, you can always go back up here. You can double click the sketch and it'll go back into that sketch. I'm going to click in all of these 5 blocks and grab and pull them all up together like this. And you let go, you zoom out, hold shift. You can look at it and see if it looks like you want it to be. You're all just getting the hang of something like this, chances are, so you don't have to go too nuts with it, but it helps to be able to see what's going on here and teach your brain. Then I don't want to extrude that again. I hit the wrong button. Cancel. Create sketch. Sometimes it doesn't always respond. Sometimes I click too quick. There we go. Now on this 4th layer, I end up doing pretty much the same thing as I did on the 3rd. With 2 intersecting center rectangles that look something like this. It just looks nice when you're done. Finish the sketch. Again, it's not tilting. Shift. Press the mouse wheel. Pull it down so you can see it. Like maybe zoom out so you can get an idea of how big you want to make it. Click extrude. Carefully get in and select all of the parts you want. If you do something like click out here, you can just click it again and it'll go away. Click on, click off. You can get as detailed as you possibly could want, or keep this thing simple. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more layers up here on top. Create sketch. I really wish they made this tool just a little bit easier to get to because you have to keep digging for it, kind of, but that's just the way this program is. Extrude, click here. This one kind of facing, I'm looking at the realistic design. It's more like a short stack up here and then another one, and then it starts to go up to a point. If you get a little bit creative up here, go for it. Center rectangle. Bear with me, I'm trying something out here a little bit different than I normally do. See, look at that. It turned itself the way it would be best if it did all the time, so I can make this easily and click it in that step. But yeah, it doesn't always work that way. So I did another short 45 millimeters in this case there, and then I'll just put the spire on top. Create sketch. There's the dog walking around in the background. Create. I'm going to use another center rectangle. It's just over and over again, but there's one more little tool here. Try and make the square and finish the sketch. See, look, now it didn't tilt. I'll zoom out, extrude, click that, pull it up. Right, there's a taper angle here. If you just type in a regular whole number, positive number, it's going to go outwards. You want to type in a negative number. Somewhere between usually 6 and 7 degrees is going to be good. You really got to hold shift down and click and tilt this thing and see what's going on. Actually, I made this a little bit differently than normal, so I want to go even less. I'm going to go down to like a 4 to make that longer. So it's as it's going, it's angling. So you need to know you can just make changes. You can make this taller, shorter. I liked what I just had there with the 4-degree angle. It all depends on what you've done before this point. Let's do something just a little funny. That's fine. Okay. I like this one. I'm glad I took a couple shots at recording a demo on this because this one looks a little bit more interesting. And I'll go ahead and do another video on patterns and how you can do stuff like windows and doors or whatever in a pretty straightforward way. In a project like this, again, make sure my students specifically are saving this to make it easy to launch if you need to work on it again, and then export it real quick and make sure it's in your U drive. So if computer something goes wrong, it's still permanently stored for you on the servers, right? That's a great practice activity. I know it takes a little bit of patience and time to go through it all, but get into detail work and making things a little more interesting, colored up and such later. Or you can ask if you get far enough and you're bored. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.